the draper's heart was lost when she smiled and said she wanted just the latest thing in hats.
Good evening again, and welcome to Mansfields Melbourne on the Move again. And we're down on the Mornington Peninsula, but somewhere very, very special at Bob and Judy's Television Museum, the Museum of Modern Media down in Mornington. It's about, half a kilometre from Mornington Shopping Centre, isn't it?
That's right,
Judy?
Bruce, yes, right near Main Street,
Near Main Street, on the Nepean Highway, just before you get into Mornington.
Exactly.
And we actually called down midweek because we knew it wouldn't be too busy, because I know on public holidays and weekends it's packed out, isn't it?
Well, we had a lovely Probus group in this morning, Bruce. They would have really loved to have met you, so just a little bit late for that one.
Tell us how it all started, Judy. Where did you and Bob get the idea, or Bob, I suppose, initially?
Well, I thought it was a terrible joke at first, but Bob's a collector, as you know. He started off as a projectionist, and he wants to preserve the industry, and he's got a great passion for the television industry. And he was working at Channel 9, and one night, I think it was, he went to the dump master, as is his habit, at Channel 9, and found some Beatles material, and he nearly cried. So he said, well, you know, let's try and do something here and preserve the industry, and it's been his cubby house ever since.
Well, he's certainly done it, and both of you are to be commended. I was called down about 5 years ago, but it's grown like Topsy since then, incorporating a radio station, a theatrette, and the great memories that we're going to share in this next half hour.
And don't forget the Judy Banks School.
Yeah, how's that going?
Television school here. Very good, Bruce. I've got the one in Richmond as well.
Right.
But a lot of youngsters come here once a week, and we do lots of things like, you know, little scripts and improvisation, news reading and weather, and they love it. And
because you're actually working in the environment of a television or radio station.
That's right. Yes, they adore it.
All right, let's have a little wander up here, Judy, and if you have some work to do, we'll call back later on and have a yarn to you, Judy.
Thanks,
all right? Good on you. Good to see you too. But just along, adorning the walls of the Museum of Modern Media, many memories there of Norman Swain and Judy and Fred Bear from the Breakfast to Go-Go days, Happy Hammond and Funny Face Gordon, Panda, the crew from Hey Hey It's Saturday, Susan Gay Anderson and Happy Hammond, Ron Blaskett, Jerry G, fan cards and memories of not necessarily a bygone era, but certainly of the golden days. Interspersed. Well, now this is very close to me, because for many years I did Perfect Match as Dexter the robot. I did it for about a year, and was the voice of Dexter with Greg Evans as the host. Looking too at some of the old telecine chains, this in the early days of television is where the film was fed for, say, the Sunday night movie. It would be all in a reel encased in there and threaded through into a projector, and that would bounce off onto the signal at Mount Dandenong. Here are some smaller bits and pieces on memories. Charlie Chaplin, the memories of bygone days from Hollywood, as well as some of the magnificent projectors, slide projectors. You see, originally they were used there, as well as this one here, and memories of the Tramp, Charlie Chaplin, and some of his early films. Moving along here, again, this is a projector from the early days of cinema, not necessarily television. This is where the film would be fed in here, and for instance, the film in there now features some of the great Hollywood stars. There's Judy over by the counter. We might have a look at the... Oh, you've got some popcorn there, Judy, have you? No, not at this very moment, but maybe a little bit later. It's not just television, is it? We're discovering a lot about, early cinema, early, theatre work.
Exactly. Yes, there's lots of there's old theatre programs, old newspapers, lots of memories, Bruce. I'm nearly bursting to tears sometimes.
No, don't do that. What, seeing me?
No, not really.
Do you miss yourself putting on the old slap
Of course I do. Actually, I've been working, I've done a little bit, in the last couple of years, but not too many Joan Collins parts available these days, Bruce.
No, and what there is, she grabs them with glee. You do a radio show with Bob down here for the local radio station, Judy.
Yes, we do Visitor Radio, and I think that reaches about 60,000 listeners, and we welcome people to the peninsula and tell them where all the bed and breakfasts are and the vineyards and so forth, because there's a lot down here, as you know, being a resident of Shoreham.
I think it's a bit of a treasure, an untapped treasure yet.
It is. It's lovely. And, of course, there's lots of things for people to see, as well as all the lovely photographs and so forth. We've got the videos of all the old shows. They love the Graham Kennedy archival material in the theatre.
Don't you lease the theatre out or open it on a weekend?
Yes, we do, and I think this week the Sea Scouts are coming in to watch a movie on Wednesday. So, if anybody has a birthday party, kids come in and have their birthday parties here and have their Coke and popcorn, and we run a video for them.
All right, Judy, thanks a lot.
And thanks for the commercial.
Good on you. Well, it's not a commercial because I think people are going to just wallow in the wonder of television as we look in a moment to some of the early days of television and take you back to those days.
The power of video is now more accessible than ever. Promote your products, train your staff, demonstrate your skills, video a conference, and put yourself on TV.
On Mansfields Melbourne on Channel 31, we use the services of Costel Vision. Yes, duplication of extra copies, editing, overseas tape conversion, also old wedding films to video. 2 Lara Close in Thomastown for Costel Vision. Ring Jeff on 9464 2852. Studio City in Mornington, we're reliving the memories of the golden days of television, along with cinema, the great achievements, including highlights of Marilyn Monroe and her great works through the old cameras of bygone days. Walk with us now and into the television area. We look at some of the shows we watched on television. What set did you have, Ash, in your early days?
We had the Astor.
The Astor? That was the one that the Long family enjoyed. I Love Lucy and Bonanza and all those shows. I think we had a Thorn in my early days. But up on the screen, they're reliving and reprogramming some of the shows we all enjoyed when television first hit. Let's, if the camera picks it up, we'll relive just a few of those moments. What was this? I vaguely... Do you know, Ash, what this one was?
This is Dynasty.
Yes, you're right, Ash. You did very well.
Good evening and welcome to Multicultural Television. I'm Bruce Gingell, and I feel tonight the same enthusiasm, the same excitement, and the same unbounded optimism as I did on that day, September the 16th, 1956.
And he certainly looks it, doesn't he? Bruce Gingell. The man who originally opened Channel 9 in Sydney, TCN Channel 9, the first face, really, on Australian television. Ozzy Ostrich played a big part in early days, and there's the Logie, the hallowed Logie that has been won by so many performers over the years. Let's move over here, and this is really getting into television the way we were, including a setup here of a control room which was in the Studio 9 television complex that would have been used for IMT. It's outmoded now and all computerized, but this in its day was where the television programs would be put to air. Faders for volume, faders to bring in programs, videotape and telecine would all come through this main control room area. And there's this actual control booth in action as it was at Channel 9. Behind, of course, it looks to be Uptight, or one of the television shows on Channel O in the early days. Rusty Wiley compared, thank you. And these are the Strangers in action right now. But Ken Sparks did it for a while. I think Molly Meldrum was involved in Uptight. This is Merv Benton. Remember him, Ash? He worked in a bank out in Thornbury, in the Commonwealth Bank, and he was a very big star in his time. But that's the control room set up as it was. Moving over here, one of the very early television cameras from Channel 7, and behind us the boom. Now the boom was a microphone on the end of a huge. I've just got my wire caught between Ash's ventricles. The boom was used for people who sang or actors when the microphone wasn't to be in shot. And a boom operator would stand on this and actual control where the camera was going to be. Let's move along here, and I think a lot of our younger people will love the Sullivans, and many, many memories of the Sullivans. Stay there, Ash. You're doing very well. I'm going to actually get in this car. This was used in the war scenes. Well, I'm not going to. This was used in the wartime scenes when John Sullivan went to war. And I know the man who actually designed and built this car. It's not one of the cars, but it's an old Jeep that's... I wonder what you'd get for this at 3-point motors. It's an old Jeep used in the Khyber Pass area during the Sullivans. But it's fabulous, isn't it? With the gun at the back. And it's got the armrest too. Now here's my first love, apart from Judy, radio. Now in every radio station in the 30s, 40s, 50s, there was the master control, where the actual voice and program of the station was sent out to Mount Dandenong. Or no, before Mount Dandenong to Rosanna, Templestowe. And of course this was the last area that the program would emanate from, and from there to the transmitter. This was the powerhouse that drove the radio station. The valves, the select inputs, the adjusts, the coarse aptitude, the fine aptitude and the vertical all came through there. And some lovely examples of early Melbourne radio. In our growing up days, yes, it might be an idea to have a look at some of those radios, Ash. That was the Mickey and the HMV. Over here, jukeboxes played a big part in the growing up of the 1950s. The Mexicali bar opposite the Ivanhoe Pictures rocked to the sounds of Bill Haley and the Comets and Johnny O'Keefe, shaken in the stadium, the old West Melbourne Stadium. And there's a little of rock and roll. Over here, some of the headlines that made the newspapers. You see, this is a studio city. It just doesn't encompass television and radio, but the big events that rocked the nation. Man walks on the moon. Japan agrees to surrender. The day Darwin died. The Queen is crowned. Will Phar Lap make turf history? John F. Kennedy assassinated. The great Beatles crush, and peace as Japan accepts surrender terms. The newspapers that made our morning press in those long ago days. Do you remember Graham Kennedy's in Melbourne tonight? An integral part was about 10:30, 11:15 toward the end of the show, when Darrod's sponsored the Darrod's Wheel, brought to you by Darrod's, the style store in the heart of Burke Street. Now, Graham Kennedy and the myriad of barrel girls, including Honey van den Bosch, and the most famous of them all, what was her name?
Honey.
No, the most famous barrel girl, Panda. And there she is with Graham Kennedy and Barry McQueen and Joy Fountain, or is that Joy Fountain or Gaynor Bunning? It doesn't matter. Anyway, that was the Darrod's barrel, and here it is in the flesh at at Studio City. And each night, of course, they would roll the barrel and take from there the contestants for the following night. Now, those contestants would come into the studios at Channel 9 and, of course, would spin the famous Darrod's wheel. And tonight it's stopping on. You've won a nothing. Well, the prizes are fabulous. Stanley Rogers cutlery, Chandris lines. Remember the shipping line? Black & Decker. $1,000 with a CBA Bank. A Chef Gasglow electric heater. Thorn Atlas TV. A Hoover Toyota. The Darrod's wheel. Darrod's the style store. Great memories. Now, we'll highlight some of the early Graham Kennedy shows in just a moment, but remember the old radiola, the 3-in-1? They were huge, very big, as well as the loudspeakers, which started radio when we had cat's whiskers, a crystal set, but they came to life so everyone could hear with the advent of the radio loudspeaker. Here in Studio City is the little theaterette, and we're watching now the early IMTs with Graham Kennedy and Buster Fidesz. Buster Fidesz, one of the funniest men ever on Australian television.
A horse! My kingdom for a horse! Give him a horse, somebody. Have it now! You can knock it off any time you like, I don't care. God for Harry, England, and St. John! What's the curses? I stab you in the chest! I stab you in the back of the neck! I stab you! Have you now? Ow!
Museum of Modern Media features also radio. We've had a look at the transmitter earlier on, looking now at some of the beautiful radios that brought the sound of Jack Davey and Bob Dyer, the Quiz Kids, When a Girl Marries, all those shows into our homes. Along with that, some early tape recording from Wireless World, beautiful loudspeakers, as well as a portable gramophone, all in beautiful wood.
What's the big one, Bruce?
The big one, that's a Lofton White. I don't know what that is, but that's a very early radio, and it's beautifully restored, along with some of the others there. But that's the wonderful world of radio. A gift for everyone is the radio, as they describe there. Now, walking along through here, join us as we look at this. Now, this was a Mole Richardson Academy camera crane. It's a monster by today's standards, but certainly the heavy artillery of Studio 1 at Channel 9 in the golden days of In Melbourne Tonight, the BP Super Shows. Now, the crane was electrically driven. It was totally electrically driven. The camera operator would sit there above where the seat is and operate that from there. And, of course, the crane, I can't do it now, but it used to go up and down and create the shots required. All right, great pointed finger. Here are some of the stars that entertained us in those early days. Graham and Bert Newton, Don Lane and Happy Hammond, Denise Drysdale. The cast and crew from the Sullivans, Louis Armstrong. Ash just knocked his head on the crane. Louis Armstrong, he blew that trumpet till he was black in the face. There's the crane in action, that boom that I was talking about earlier, the boom operator you see sitting up there. Noel Ferrier, Ernie Sigley, what's her name? Tony Lamond, Philip Brady down here, Jimmy Hannon, Bob Dyer, Dilo and Daly, Bill McCormick. No, Ash, I'll have to get around here if you don't mind. I'll guide you through. Ash is actually behind our camera and operating like a man with one blind eye, but he's doing a very good job. That's the like little Lotto. He's stuck. I'll help you through. He's just jammed himself between a lens and a cap. Now, videotape. Oh, okay. This is a early camera which isn't moving around, but a very, very early one. The Pi Image Orthicon black and white television camera, one of the veterans from the 1956 Olympic Games. Here's a little of Graham Kennedy that we saw earlier. Very young Graham Kennedy in the year 1957. Now walk around here and you'll see, this is rather lovely, from the cinema days, the ticket office. Remember, you'd go to the Hoyts Ivanhoe or the Liberty in Brunswick, and that's where your tickets would come from. And a row of tickets were given out and you'd go to your seat from there. Early tins of film, and also another transmitting area from RCA. Memories of All the Rivers Run and the Man from Snowy River. But come and have a look at the most wonderful collection of paraphernalia from the milk bar, the corner kiosk in those days. A beautiful presentation here of some of the Coca-Cola memorabilia. There's no greater collector than a Coca-Cola collector, and they are very keen on their collection. And with that, some of the milk bar ephemera from those days, along with the old milk bar mixer and the various bottles and Cokes. Have a look at this. It's a tape that rewinds at intervals, Ash, but it's rather lovely. Some of the early scenes of Melbourne.
Most projectors used in this country have been imports, but we also made our own. This machine is the Bond, made in Australia as early as 1903.
In the late 1920s, the coming of sound films boosted the market for Australian-made projectors and encouraged the development of sound recorders for Australian studios. Like the importation of projectors, the purchase of overseas sound recording gear was massively expensive.
The story behind Australia's first successful sound on film recording process began here in Launceston, Tasmania. In the late 1920s...
At Studio City, we've seen the golden days of Hollywood, we've seen the golden days of television and the golden days of radio. And again, we look back and memory, and with very fond memories of the names and the faces and the people that brought those shows into our living room. Judy Banks there, mine host earlier on, as she appeared on the front page of The Listener in TV back in 1968. The Listener in TV was originally a paper that was brought out by the Herald Sun called The Listener In, because there was no television in those days. When television arrived, they combined. The Listener In became Listener In TV, and it incorporated not only radio, but television too. Well, we've met Dexter the Robot, and we've had a look at some of the early cinematography exhibits. Now, this is fantastic. It's an underwater motion picture camera. If you've ever seen Jaws or any other shows like that set underwater, they would take this camera. It's quite heavy, and Ash intends to go underwater filming next time we're down on the Mornington Peninsula. Aussie Ostrich from Hey Hey It's Saturday, and a lovely character from the Happy show and the Tarek shows. His name was Jerry G. Now there's Adolphus Twerk, which was his offsider, and there's the original Jerry Head, which was actually modelled and shaped in America by the man who created the great Vent Act. What was the doll that Edgar Bergen had? Charlie McCartney, wasn't it? And that was modelled by Charlie McCartney's creator, Edgar Bergen. It's a beautiful piece, that, and if you ever do come across a Jerry G with the box, it's worth quite a few $100s. As we move over now to say goodbye to Judy, and thank you for your great hospitality here. Tell us about your school, the Judy Banks School.
It's been going for 25 years, Bruce, and I think I'll be working till I drop, really. But I enjoy it.
And it was your birthday yesterday, Judy.
Yes, and Philip's on Monday.
Yes, that's right. So on behalf of all of us on the crew at Mansfields Melbourne, happy birthday to you. Did you go out last night?
We certainly did.
Where do you go down here? What's a good spot?
Lovely restaurant, Via Maria on the highway in Frankston.
Right.
And I hope you can't smell this beautiful garlic.
Well, I can.
Oh, it's the most beautiful Italian food. I just
like the smell of
can't
garlic.
resist it. But oh dear, it takes a long while to recover these days, Bruce. Years ago I used to be able to party, but oh dear, it gets...
Didn't we all, though? I mean, it was 4 or 5 in the morning after some of those shows.
That's right, yes.
You would have had to have got up early to do Fred Bear's Breakfast a Go-Go.
Well, I used to get up at 4, and I was just telling some of the ladies from the Probers Club this morning, we didn't have any research writers or anything in those.
No such things as writers, were there?
We just had the running sheet, didn't we? And
There was you and Ted Dunn, who played Fred Bear, and Colin McEwen.
Yes, who's on radio, I think, at the moment, isn't
Yes.
he? 3AK.
Yes.
And Michael McCarthy. But we...
Yes, whatever happened to Michael? He was very good.
Well, he married, and I think he's in real estate.
Oh, is he? Yeah. Well, Judy, thank you very, very much indeed. It was lovely. It was lovely meeting you again.
Best gig I've had for years, really.
Judy Banks, she's a very special friend, and this is a very special spot. It's Studio City, Mornington Peninsula, about a mile or a kilometre before you turn off into Mornington on the city side of Mornington, and it's in what's the industrial complex called? Mornington Industrial Park. You see that sign, you'll see a big sign on the highway. Pop in, the kids will just love it, and you can share with them your memories of early radio and television, and that makes a family very, very special. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Bob Phillips. It's been a lovely half hour on Mansfields Melbourne, live from Studio City.